Today, we're going to explore how to become this kind of person. Someone who commands respect not through aggression, but through the quiet strength of absolute self-mastery. Someone who is formidable, not because they threaten others, but because they cannot be threatened. Someone who is powerful, not because they dominate, but because they cannot be dominated. The path we're exploring draws from 2,000 years of Stoic wisdom, combined with modern understanding of psychology, discipline, and character development. This isn't about becoming someone to fear. It's about becoming someone to respect, someone impossible to manipulate, someone who stands firm when others crumble. As Epictetus, who rose from slavery to become one of history's greatest teachers, wrote, "No one can hurt you without your consent." When you internalize this truth and build your life around it, you become formidable in the truest sense. Nothing external can shake you. Let's begin the transformation. Pillar 1. Master your mind before anything else. The foundation of all strength. The Stoics understood something that modern people often miss. Physical strength is temporary, social power is fragile, and external circumstances are unreliable. But a disciplined mind is an unassailable fortress that no one can breach without your permission. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't philosophical abstraction. It's the most practical advice ever given. The person who controls their mind controls everything that matters. The person who doesn't will be controlled by circumstances, emotions, and other people. Think about what happens when someone insults you. If you react with anger, they've controlled you. They spoke words and your emotional state changed. They have power over you. But if you hear the same insult and remain completely centered, perhaps even slightly amused, they have no power. The words hit nothing. You're formidable because you cannot be moved by what would devastate others. Consider what happens in crisis. Most people panic, their minds racing with worst-case scenarios, their judgment clouded by fear. But the person with a disciplined mind stays calm, assesses reality clearly, and makes rational decisions. In that moment, they become the most powerful person in the room, not through force, but through clarity. Here the practice of mental mastery. Building an unshakable mind isn't mystical. It's training, repeated daily until mastery becomes nature. The Stoics practiced specific techniques. Morning premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. Each morning, spend 5–10 minutes imagining difficulties you might face today, not to create anxiety, but to prepare your mind. When you've already mentally rehearsed your boss being difficult, a project failing, or someone attacking you, the actual events have less power to disturb you. You've already decided how you'll respond with calm strength. The dichotomy of control exercise. Throughout the day, categorize everything into two groups: what you control, your thoughts, choices, responses, and what you don't, others' actions, outcomes, events. Train yourself to focus 100% of your energy on what you control and accept what you don't with equanimity. This single practice makes you nearly unshakable. Emotional observation without identification. When strong emotions arise, anger, fear, desire, practice observing them without becoming them. Think, there is anger, not, I am angry. This creates space between you and the emotion, preventing it from controlling you. Over time, you develop the ability to feel without being controlled by feelings. Daily review. Seneca's method. Each night, review your day. Where did you maintain mental discipline? Where did you lose it? What will you do differently tomorrow? This nightly practice compounds into remarkable mental strength over months and years. Voluntary discomfort. Regularly choose discomfort. Cold showers, fasting, difficult conversations, physical challenges. Each time you choose discomfort, you prove to yourself that discomfort doesn't control you. This builds genuine confidence that radiates as quiet power. The transformation. After 6 months of daily mental training, you notice something. Situations that used to devastate you now barely register. Insults bounce off. Setbacks are just data. Pressure reveals your strength rather than your weakness. People start treating you differently because they sense they can't manipulate or intimidate you. You've become formidable because your mind is your own. External events still happen, but they don't happen to you. They just happen around you, while you remain centered, making conscious choices about how to respond. Pillar 2. Develop uncompromising self-discipline. The visible sign of inner strength. While mental mastery is internal, self-discipline is where that mastery becomes visible to the world. The person who clearly has control over themselves commands immediate respect. Why? Because self-discipline signals that this person can be trusted, can delay gratification, can commit and follow through, all markers of formidable character. Seneca observed, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his power." The undisciplined person is at the mercy of their impulses, addictions, and moods. They're predictable, manipulable, weak. The disciplined person answers to no one but their own chosen principles. They're unpredictable to those who would manipulate them, and reliable to those who depend on them. Consider 2 people in identical situations. Person A says they'll do something, but follows through only when motivated. They eat whatever they feel like eating. They exercise when they feel like it. They let emotions dictate their schedule. They compromise their principles when it's convenient. People learn not to take them seriously. Person B says they'll do something and it gets done regardless of feelings. They maintain their physical discipline consistently. They control their consumption. They uphold their principles even when costly. People learn this person is serious, is reliable, is not to be trifled with. Who is more formidable? Who commands more respect? Who has more actual power in their life? The practice of ruthless discipline. The Stoics didn't believe in discipline for its own sake. They believed in it as the expression of inner freedom. You develop discipline not to impress others, but to free yourself from enslavement to impulse. Physical discipline as foundation. Your body is the most obvious arena for self-mastery. Establish non-negotiable routines. Exercise at the same time daily. No exceptions. Maintain sleep discipline. Control what enters your body. Every time you honor these commitments when you don't feel like it, you strengthen the discipline muscle. Time discipline. The undisciplined person lets time happen to them. The disciplined person architects their time. Block your schedule. Honor your blocks. Protect your time like it's your life, because it is. When someone asks for your time, having the discipline to say no when appropriate makes you formidable. Consumption discipline. Marcus Aurelius, who could have indulged any desire, practiced restraint, not deprivation, restraint. He ate simply, drank moderately, possessed only what he needed. This wasn't suffering, it was freedom from needing more than he had. Apply this to media, food, alcohol, purchases, and digital consumption. Your ability to not need constant stimulation makes you powerful. Commitment discipline. Make fewer commitments, but treat every commitment as sacred. Your word becomes law to yourself first, which makes it credible to others. When you say, "I'll do this," it gets done. No excuses, no rationalization. This reliability makes you formidable in professional and personal contexts. Pain tolerance, discipline. Regularly do hard things, intense workouts, cold exposure, fasting, uncomfortable conversations, challenging projects. Each time you choose difficulty, you expand your capacity for hardship. When crisis comes, and it will, you have a proven track record of handling difficulty. Others know this about you. The transformation, discipline transforms you visibly. Your body changes, your posture changes, your speech patterns change. You make fewer empty promises because you only commit to what you'll do. Your presence changes. People sense they're dealing with someone serious. But the deeper transformation is internal. You trust yourself completely because you've proven repeatedly that you do what you say. This self-trust radiates as confidence that others perceive as formidability. You're not trying to be impressive. You're simply someone who has mastered themselves. And that mastery is inherently impressive. Pillar 3. Build unshakable boundaries. The definition of self. A formidable person is defined not just by what they do, but by what they refuse to tolerate. Boundaries aren't walls that keep people out. They're definitions that establish who you are and what you stand for. The person with weak boundaries is everyone's doormat. The person with strong, enforced boundaries is someone to be respected. Epictetus taught his students, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Before you can have boundaries, you must know what you stand for, your principles, your standards, your non-negotiables. Most people never do this work, so they have no boundaries to enforce. The formidable person has done this work. They know exactly what behavior they accept and what they don't. They know what situations serve them and what situations diminish them. And most importantly, they enforce these boundaries consistently, regardless of who's crossing them or what enforcing them costs. The practice of boundary excellence. The Stoics believed that virtue was non-negotiable. They would rather die than compromise their principles. While you don't need such extreme commitment in modern life, the principle remains. Boundaries without enforcement are suggestions, not boundaries. Define your non-negotiables. Sit down and write out what you will not tolerate, ever, from anyone. Disrespect, dishonesty, manipulation, being taken for granted. Be specific. These are your boundaries. Communicate boundaries clearly, once. When someone crosses a boundary, communicate it clearly. That behavior isn't acceptable to me. You don't need to explain, justify, or convince. You're stating a fact about your boundaries. Enforce immediately and consistently. This is where most people fail. They state boundaries but don't enforce them, training others that boundaries are negotiable. When a boundary is crossed after clear communication, the consequence must follow. Often, that consequence is reduced access or complete removal from your life. Enforce regardless of the person. Your boundaries apply to everyone: boss, parent, spouse, friend. The moment you make exceptions based on who's crossing the boundary, you no longer have boundaries. You have preferences that change based on convenience. Expect testing and stay firm. People will test your boundaries, especially when you first establish them. They're used to you accepting poor treatment. When you stop, they'll push back. This is the moment that defines whether you're truly formidable. Stay firm, and they learn you're serious. Waver, and they learn your boundaries are negotiable. Accept that enforcing boundaries costs relationships. Some people will leave your life when you establish boundaries. Good. They were only in your life because you tolerated what you shouldn't have tolerated. The people who remain are people who respect you, and those relationships are worth having. The transformation. When you consistently enforce strong boundaries, your entire life transforms. Toxic people exit because they can't manipulate someone with firm boundaries. Quality people enter because they respect someone who respects themselves. Self-respect deepens because you've proven you honor yourself enough to enforce your standards. Others treat you better because they've learned poor treatment has consequences. You feel safer because you're protecting yourself through boundaries rather than hoping others will treat you well. You become formidable because people learn, this person has lines you don't cross. This person will remove you from their life if you don't meet their standards. This person cannot be taken advantage of. That knowledge that you're willing to walk away from anyone who doesn't respect your boundaries is power. Pillar 4. Cultivate dangerous competence, the power of undeniable capability. There's a particular quality that makes someone formidable beyond mental strength and discipline. Being exceptionally good at what you do. Not just competent, outstanding. The person who has developed rare, valuable skills commands respect and opportunity because they're simply too valuable to ignore or mistreat. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just emperor by birth. He was exceptional at governance. Epictetus wasn't just a philosopher. He was so skilled at teaching that his students' notes became a foundational philosophical text. They were formidable, partly because they were excellent at their craft. In the modern world, dangerous competence, skill so refined it's intimidating, creates leverage in every area of life. The programmer who can solve problems no one else can. The negotiator who consistently gets better deals. The craftsman whose work is distinctly superior. The leader who gets results others can't. These people are formidable because they're irreplaceable. Competence creates freedom. When you're genuinely excellent, you have options. You can walk away from situations that don't serve you because you'll find other opportunities. You can set boundaries because people need you more than you need any particular person. You can command respect because your results speak louder than your words. The practice of relentless improvement. The Stoics believed in continuous self-improvement. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This applies to skills as much as wisdom. Identify your highest leverage skills. What capabilities, if developed to an exceptional level, would transform your options and opportunities? These are worth obsessive focus. Don't scatter your energy trying to be decent at everything. Be dangerous at a few things that matter. Practice deliberately, not casually. Most people practice by doing their job or hobby. Formidable people engage in deliberate practice, identifying weaknesses, working on them specifically, getting feedback, iterating. 1 hour of deliberate practice beats 10 hours of casual repetition. Study the best, then synthesize. Find the top performers in your field. Study their methods, read their books, watch their work. Then don't just copy them. Synthesize their approaches with your unique strengths to create your own style of excellence. Embrace the plateau. Skill development isn't linear. It's periods of rapid growth followed by plateaus where improvement seems impossible. Most people quit during plateaus. Formidable people understand plateaus are where mastery is forged. Keep practicing during the plateau. Build a reputation through results. Don't market yourself excessively. Let your work speak. Consistently deliver exceptional results. Help others succeed. solve problems others can't. Over time, you build a reputation as someone serious, capable, and valuable. Maintain humility while building competence. The most formidable people are often surprisingly humble because they're secure in their ability. They don't need to broadcast competence. It's obvious in their results. Arrogance signals insecurity. Quiet confidence signals genuine strength. The transformation. After years of developing dangerous competence, you occupy a different position in every hierarchy you enter. You're sought after rather than seeking. You set terms rather than accepting them. You're consulted rather than ignored. You're trusted with high-stakes problems. You're compensated appropriately because you're worth it. You become formidable not through intimidation, but through the undeniable reality that you deliver results others can't. This creates a form of power that no title can grant and no circumstance can remove. It's yours, built through thousands of hours of deliberate effort. Pillar 5. Embrace radical honesty. The weapon they fear most. Here's a truth most people never learn. Radical honesty is one of the most formidable qualities you can develop. Not brutal honesty that's really just cruelty. Not tactless honesty that ignores social grace, but clear, direct, unvarnished truth-telling that most people are too afraid to practice. The average person lies constantly, to themselves, to others, through omission, through exaggeration, through politeness. They avoid truth because truth is uncomfortable. This makes them weak. They can be manipulated because they participate in collective delusions. They can be controlled because they fear the consequences of truth. The radically honest person is formidable because they're outside this system. They say what they observe. They admit what they don't know. They state what they want clearly. They acknowledge their mistakes immediately. They refuse to participate in social lies that everyone knows are lies, but no one challenges. Marcus Aurelius practiced this in his meditations. Brutally honest self-assessment without self-deception. Epictetus taught his students to value truth above comfort. They understood that the person who sees reality clearly and speaks it honestly has power that those living in comfortable delusion can never access. The practice of strategic honesty. The Stoics weren't naive. They understood that honesty requires wisdom about when and how to speak truth. This isn't about being a tactless asshole. It's about strategic authenticity. Tell the truth to yourself first. Most lies start internal. You lie to yourself about your motivations, your capabilities, your situation. Practice radical self-honesty in your journal. Admit what you're afraid to admit. This internal honesty becomes the foundation of external honesty. State your observations clearly. When you see something, say it. I notice this project is behind schedule. I observe that you're treating me dismissively. No hedging, no softening, just clear statement of observed reality. This directness is disarming because it's so rare. Admit ignorance and mistakes immediately. I don't know and I was wrong are power phrases. Most people avoid them, which makes them weak when eventually proven ignorant or wrong. Say them readily, and you're invulnerable. There's nothing to expose, because you've already exposed it yourself. Ask for what you want directly. Most people hint, imply, hope others will read their minds. You state clearly, I want X. I expect Y. This directness is formidable because it's so uncommon. People don't know how to respond to clear, honest requests. Call out manipulation calmly. When someone tries to manipulate you through guilt, flattery, or deception. State what you observe. It seems like you're trying to make me feel guilty, so I'll do what you want. This meta-communication disrupts the manipulation and signals you're not a target. Speak truth without attachment to outcome. The formidable person speaks truth because it's true, not to achieve a particular result. This detachment makes them impossible to manipulate through consequences. If you tell the truth, you'll be fired. Perhaps, but it's still the truth. That's power. The transformation. As you develop the habit of radical honesty, manipulators avoid you because manipulation requires you to accept lies, and you won't. Respect increases because honesty signals confidence. Only secure people can afford total honesty. Your word becomes gold because when you speak, people know it's truth, not strategy. Anxiety decreases because you're not managing multiple versions of reality across different people. Power increases because people can't use your own lies against you. You're not lying. You become formidable because you're operating from reality, while others are operating from comfortable fictions. Reality always wins eventually, which means you win. Pillar 6. Master the art of controlled response. The space where power lives. We've touched on this earlier, but it deserves its own pillar. The formidable person has mastered the space between stimulus and response. Something happens. They choose their response. Between these moments exists their power. Most people are reactive. Stimulus produces immediate, automatic response. Someone insults them, they get angry. Something goes wrong, they panic. They're puppets whose strings anyone can pull if they know the triggers. This makes them weak, predictable, controllable. The formidable person has trained themselves to pause, to observe, to choose. They feel the impulse to react, everyone does, but they don't act on it immediately. They create space, assess the situation, and consciously decide, what response serves my goals and principles here? This controlled response is perhaps the most visible marker of formidability. Watch how someone handles insult, pressure, provocation, or crisis. The person who remains calm, who responds with measured thought rather than reactive emotion, radiates power. Everyone in the room knows this person cannot be rattled. The practice of response mastery. The Stoics practiced techniques specifically designed to build this capacity. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about feeling emotion while maintaining rational control. The pause technique. When something triggers you, count to 5 before responding. Just 5 seconds of pause creates enough space to regain conscious control rather than reacting automatically. Practice this with small annoyances until it becomes habitual for large ones. Worst-case acceptance. Before entering potentially stressful situations, accept the worst possible outcome mentally. If you've already accepted that this negotiation might fail, that this person might attack you, that this project might collapse, these events lose their power to create panic reactions. Stoic dichotomy in real time. When crisis hits, immediately ask, what's within my control here? Focus exclusively on that. Acceptance of what you don't control prevents reactive panic. Action on what you do control prevents helpless paralysis. Emotional labeling. When strong emotion arises, label it. This is anger. This is fear. This creates observer distance from the emotion, preventing it from controlling you. You feel anger, but you're not anger. You're the awareness noticing anger. Response delay for major decisions. Create a personal rule. No major decisions while emotionally activated. I'll think about this and respond tomorrow. This delay allows emotion to subside and reason to engage, preventing reactive choices you'll regret. Physical grounding. When emotional intensity rises, return attention to physical sensation. Feet on floor, breath in lungs, hands on table. This anchors you in present physical reality rather than emotional reactivity. The transformation. After months of practicing controlled response, you notice people can't manipulate you emotionally because provocation doesn't produce the expected reaction. You make better decisions because they're made from clarity, not emotion. Respect increases dramatically because composure under pressure is universally respected. Confidence deepens because you trust yourself to handle whatever arises with appropriate response. Power consolidates because you're no longer giving power to external events. You're keeping it within yourself. You become formidable because you're predictable in your unpredictability. People know you won't react automatically, which means they can't predict or manipulate your responses. You're sovereign over your own reactions, which makes you sovereign in your life. Conclusion. The integrated, formidable self. We've explored 6 pillars of becoming truly formidable. 1. Master your mind before anything else. 2. Develop uncompromising self-discipline. 3. Build unshakable boundaries. 4. Cultivate dangerous competence. 5. Embrace radical honesty. 6. Master controlled response. These aren't separate skills, they're integrated aspects of a developed character. Each pillar supports and strengthens the others. Mental mastery makes discipline possible. Discipline makes boundaries enforceable. Boundaries create space for competence development. Competence enables honesty. You can afford to tell truth when you're valuable. Honesty requires controlled response. Controlled response demonstrates mental mastery. The cycle reinforces itself. The truth about formidability. Being formidable isn't about being threatening. It's about being unbreakable. It's not about dominating others. It's about being impossible to dominate. It's not about causing fear. It's about commanding respect through evident strength of character. The formidable person walks into a room and the energy shifts, not because they demand attention, but because they possess a centered quality that naturally draws it. They speak and people listen, not because they're loud, but because their words carry the weight of someone who speaks sparingly and means what they say. They can be crossed, but only once, because they enforce boundaries immediately. They can be challenged, but those who challenge them quickly discover they're facing someone who doesn't collapse under pressure. They can be tested, but the tests reveal strength rather than weakness. The path forward. You don't become formidable overnight. Marcus Aurelius studied philosophy for years before his character was tested by empire. Epictetus endured slavery before his wisdom earned him students. The path requires consistent, daily practice over months and years. Start with one pillar, perhaps mental mastery. Begin morning meditation and evening review. Practice for 30 days until it's habitual. Then add another pillar, perhaps discipline. Establish one non-negotiable routine and honor it regardless of feelings. Layer these practices over time. Each pillar you strengthen makes the others easier. Mental mastery facilitates discipline. Discipline makes boundaries enforceable. The compound effect is exponential. Each addition multiplies rather than adds to your formidability. The ultimate Stoic truth. The Stoics understood that formidability, real power, comes from what cannot be taken from you. External power is fragile. Wealth can be lost. Status can fall. Strength fades with age. But internal power, character, discipline, mental sovereignty, is yours until you surrender it. As Epictetus taught, no one can hurt you without your consent. No one can make you angry without your participation. No one can control you without your permission. When you fully internalize this and build your life around it, you become formidable in the truest sense. You're not dangerous to others, you're dangerous to the forces that control most people. Manipulation, intimidation, circumstance, emotion, weakness. You've made yourself immune to these things through disciplined self-development. This is the formidable self, not the person others should fear, but the person others should respect. Not someone who seeks to dominate, but someone who cannot be dominated. Not someone who threatens harm, but someone who cannot be harmed without their permission. Become this person. The world needs more people who are formidable in their integrity, unshakable in their principles, and impossible to corrupt or break. That person is who you can become. That person is who you should become. That person is waiting for you to claim them through daily practice. Start today.